Melodies on the upbeats, that's cool. Dude, that man. Yeah. What it do, all of you? It is your resident music nerd, Kenan, back with another music review / reaction / analysis. This time, we're doing some more K-pop with Stray Kids' latest effort featuring Charlie Puth. It's called Lose My Breath. Now, this tune came out last week, and I've just been able to listen to it today, so let's get right into this one. Lose My Breath is a pop song with R&B elements, and this track was written by Sriracha or Sriracha, I don't know how to say it, and they're the in-house writing team at SKZ, consisting of 3 of their members, Bang Chan, Changbin, and Han. It was also co-written by Jacob Kasher Hindlin, Natalie Salomon, Charlie Puth, and Johnny Goldstein. Those last 2 produced this track as well. Now, there are 3 things I wanted to talk about in this song and why it works so good. The chorus melody structure, the chord progression, and the production. Let me explain. First up, the chorus melody. Now, if you're not familiar with song form terminology, the chorus is like the main part of the verse-chorus form. You can think of it as like the hook, or the most catchy part of the song. Now, this section's melody is, in my opinion, quite well thought out. There's a sort of a game of contrast we're playing here. The chorus's melodies can be divided into 2 phrases, which are like melodic sentences. I'll call this first one A, the A phrase. Yeah, 2000s vibe. And I'll call this second one B. We can see here on this handy-dandy lead sheet that I've made that we've got like an AABA format here. We can hear that the A part is much more on the downbeats, on the strong beats, compared to the B phrase, which is the opposite, much more on the upbeats. Now, you might be sitting there kind of lost right about now, but that's okay. The way that I'm describing it right now is very gigging musician coded, so let me just break it down. Most popular music is in 4/4, which means that each measure, each bar, consists of 4 beats. And you can try this out now just by counting 1, 2, 3, 4 along to the song. Now those 1, 2, 3, 4 counts, those are the downbeats. You can think of this as the 4 pillars that hold up the groove. Now, since these are the downbeats, what do we think the upbeats are? Well, upbeats, in a simple way to describe them, are the notes, the rhythms, that don't line up with those 1, 2, 3, 4. There may be somewhere in between, and if we count that 1, 2, 3, 4, and insert an and after each number, we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And what we've done there is divided that 4 count rhythm into 8 different, what we call subdivisions. These particular subdivisions of the measure are called eighth notes, because now there are 8 of them in the one measure, and in turn, each single note takes up an eighth of the measure. Now these ands are the upbeats, the ones that are between the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Those are the upbeats. So now, let's go back to those 2 phrases and listen to each one. Here we're seeing they line up more on the 1, 2, 3, 4 rather than the ands. Now, let's listen to the B phrase. Melodies on the upbeats, that's cool. Aha, now you should be able to hear that they're really accenting, really highlighting the upbeats, those ands, those subdivisions that are in between the downbeats, between each of the numbers. It's that contrast, that push and pull between them that really makes this rhythmic structure and this melodic structure just work. You have that A phrase, which is very on the beat, twice, followed up with the B phrase that's very on the upbeats, and then wrapping it up nicely like a little bow on the end with another A phrase. Contrast. Playing with those opposites and yet putting those together in a neat little package, that's how a composer crafts a song. Second point, let's talk chords. We've only got 1 chord progression in this song, and we can analyze it as 2 minor 7 to the 5 dominant 7 flat 9 to the 6 minor 7 to the 7 diminished 7th of 2. I can see that you non-musicians in the crowd, your eyes have just glazed over, but let me give you the Spark Notes version of these funny magic numbers that I'm throwing at you. Most songs have one key, which we can think of as like our home base, our HQ, our headquarters. Let's use the key of C major as an example. C major, the notes in C major are C, D, E, F, G, A, and B, and then we wrap back around to C. Now, let's think of the home base as our starting point, and we'll call it 1. We'll give it the number 1, right? Now, let's give that next note, D, a 2, because it's the second note, and so on. We'll give E a 3, F a 4, and we'll fill out the rest of that. Now, if we build chords on each one of these, we call it by the number that is assigned to it, and that number is expressed as a Roman numeral in the context of chords. So C is my 1 chord, D is my 2 chord, G is my 5 chord, etc. Now, you're seeing some of them are uppercase and some are lowercase. Now, the uppercase ones are major chords, and the lowercase ones are minor chords. All these extra bits at the end of the Roman numeral just give more information as to the type of chord it is, and it isn't super integral to understanding this at a baseline level. But for those of you that are more musically inclined, 7 means that it's a 7th chord. Flat 9 means that you add the 9th note above that home base of the notes, and if we had a B flat chord in the key of E flat, we go a 9th above that B flat, which it gives us a C, but you'd lower it by 1/2 step, which gives us a C flat or a B. To those of you who aren't so musically inclined, I'm sorry that you had to hear that. In Lose My Breath, we are in the key of E flat, so these are the chords that would correspond to each Roman numeral in that key. So our first chord is 2 minor 7, which is F minor 7. Next is 5 dominant 7 flat 9, which is B flat 7 flat 9. After which is 6 minor 7, which corresponds to C minor 7. And lastly, we have 7 diminished 7th of 2, which is E diminished 7th. Now this progression is very cool because the song is built around dominant chords. In this case, it's the 5 7 and the 7 diminished 7th. Both of those are dominant chords, then those resolve to related tonic chords. Now, why do I say related? Well, dominant chords in what we call functional music theory, the idea that every chord has a function, dominant chords are inclined to resolve to tonic chords. That's their function. So dominants and tonics have that close-knit relationship. And now we see in this progression that when we boil it down, we have really just a simple 2 minor chord to a 6 minor chord, or F minor to a C minor progression. But we've just embellished these with dominant chords inserted behind each one. Isn't that neat? I'm willing to bet actually that Charlie Puth came up with this chord progression for reasons that you will see in just a bit. But before that, quick disclaimer, I'm going to be talking about some advanced music theory stuff here. Or if you're a Berklee student, I'm going to be talking about some intermediate music theory stuff here. Or if you're a School of Rock student, I'm going to be talking about some doctorate level theory here. I'm just kidding. Or am I? Skip ahead to the next section if this stuff is going to go over your head anyway. So now that I've got the theory nerds in the room here, you might be wondering why I called that second chord a 5-7 flat 9 if in the beginning we actually have a 7 diminished 7 of 6 in the guitar line, this B diminished 7th chord. And this is where my suspicion that Charlie Puth or maybe just a jazzer in the room may have written this chord progression. See, if you take a note, let's do B flat in this case, in the case of this chord that we're talking about, and you build a fully diminished chord, a major third above that note, in this case, it's on the note D. D is a major third above B flat. You instantly get a 7 flat 9 chord. In this case, we've created a B flat 7 flat 9 chord here. Now, a D fully diminished 7th chord, that's what we made there. That is spelled D, F, A flat, and C flat, but we'll call it B since they're the same pitch. But Kenan, I hear you asking, what does a D fully diminished 7th chord have to do with this song? I thought in the intro we had a B diminished 7th chord. Not a D diminished 7th chord. Ah, but you see, what you may not have realized is that diminished 7th chords are what we call symmetrical, meaning that you can start this chord on any note that is a part of this chord and it would still be the same chord, which means practically that a D diminished 7th chord is actually the same chord as a B diminished 7th chord, which is the same chord as an F diminished 7th chord, which is the same as a G sharp or A flat diminished 7th chord. The only difference is they start on different notes, all from that same chord. And lo and behold, we actually hear this happening once the verse comes in, when the bass is playing not a B natural, but a B flat. Thus telling me that we do in fact have a B flat 7 flat 9 chord. Boom, thank you, check please. Third and last point, let's talk briefly about the production here. So, Stray Kids is known for doing a lot of production and songwriting in-house, and in the case of this song, their in-house team, Sriracha, is responsible for the songwriting of this one, along with a couple others I mentioned in the beginning. And it appears that Charlie Puth and good old Jonathan Johnny Goldstein produced Lose My Breath, so that's pretty neat. You don't see many K-pop groups out there with their performers also being the writers and producers of the song. So that's awesome. And that's not to say that if you don't write your own stuff or produce it, your value as an artist is lessened at all, but it's just nice to see it in an industry dominated by the norm of a million hands having touched the work that we consume. Now this tune very much has throwback vibes, and I can point to a couple elements that make it very throwback. First, that sampled guitar at the very beginning. So very 90s R&B, think songs like No Scrubs, Say My Name,
Say my name, say my name.
Fill Me In,
Can you feel me? Yeah. Come on.
and You Make Me Wanna. The other thing is the general feel and the drum pattern that underpins everything. The drum pattern is definitely inspired by and drawn from the Miami bass tradition. Miami bass is a subgenre of hip-hop music that has this bouncy feel to it, right? Makes you want to jump. If you are above the age of 18 and was on the internet sometime in 2016, you may remember that song from the Vine trend, the Running Man Challenge. Here's another quick snippet of a Miami bass song. There it is indeed. You may remember that song from just its general presence in pop culture, or you may not. I don't know you or your lived experiences. Let's listen to the drum pattern of Lose My Breath. It's got that same sizzling hi-hat vibe, that pattern, as well as a similar, although not identical, bass drum pattern. Now those are just 3 things I thought really helped contribute to this song's special sauce, and I hope you learned something along the way. As for what my personal opinion of this song is, let's review this song on my usual 4-value system here, starting with the songwriting. I think that the strongest aspect of this song is its composition. So that's the melody and the chords, but not the words. That's what I mean by the composition. And that's what most people mean by the composition, the actual music itself. The contrast created by the melody was a great touch, and I feel like it elevated the song. The chords are killing too, for the reasons I mentioned previously. Now, I'm personally not too thrilled about the lyrics. They're okay. They just don't say very much or mean very much. So with that, I'll have to give this song a 7 on the songwriting front. Let's rate the production. It's solid. It evokes imagery and a specific era of music very well. The vocals sound crisp, and although this is more of a criticism of Charlie Puth more than Stray Kids, I think that the auto-tune or pitch correction on his voice specifically, as always, is a bit much and not super necessary because I know he's a great singer. However, I get it. The reality is you can't make a track that hits the Hot 100 without pitch correction of some kind anymore. And before you come at me and say, actually, my favorite artist actually said they don't use auto-tune. Yeah, they're probably right in that they don't use Antares' name brand software auto-tune, but if they don't use any real-time pitch correction, they probably use Melodyne. Look it up if you ain't hip to it yet. I use it. Everyone I know uses it. That's just how it be. This gets an 8 for production. In terms of performance, every member sounds great, and even with my qualms about Charlie, he's still sang good, so it's a 10. And in terms of the vibe, let's just cut to the chase and say it was a vibe, okay? Feel good energy, danceable, it sounds great, it feels great, this song gets a 9. All in all, and averaged out, Lose My Breath by Stray Kids featuring Charlie Puth gets a score of 8.5. Pretty darn good there, SKZ et alia. You've got a real hit on your hands, and I'm sure I would have a good time if this came on at a wedding, or if I was 8 years younger, a winter formal, or prom. Good stuff, kids. Well, that's it then. Thanks for watching this video. Check out this other video where I reacted to and reviewed the latest single from Lucas, formerly of NCT, a song called Renegade. If you want more music reviews like this, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know down in the comments which song I should review next. I'll see you in the next one.